Hello students, welcome to this first video where we're using Minecraft Education to help us learn Python programming. Once you have opened Minecraft Education, the first thing you're going to need to do is create a world to go into. So we're going to start by clicking on the play button, and if you have created a world already, and this is a time that you're coming back to it, you can view your world such as this and choose a world that you previously made. But I'm going to go back by clicking up the top left here and create a new world just to demonstrate. So create a world. You need to give it an appropriate name. I suggest using your last name, first name, and then maybe the task that you're doing. Again, just like we do with other work in the class. Now, sometimes you might be creative, or other times you might choose survival. The main reason I would choose survival is actually because I don't always want to have all the blocks and resources available if part of the challenge is to go and find them. But creative is fine for the moment. I suggest difficulty is peaceful is better, simply because this is not about playing Minecraft and going out and building everything. It's about the programming. So by not having the attacking component, if you like, in Minecraft, by having peaceful enemies and so forth, we don't have to worry about all of that, while what we're trying to do is focus on our programming. So I would suggest you leave this on peaceful. Of course, if you're playing this in your own time, in a different world, you can obviously set it to something else if you like. Down here, we don't need to worry about any of these things to start with. I do suggest that when we come down here that you have friendly fire turned off. Again, we're not here to have PvP battles with each other if we're sharing a world. We're here to do our programming, so I suggest you turn that off. I do suggest you turn coordinates on just to help you find your way around. It doesn't really matter if any of these are on or off at this point, again, because our focus is on the programming. When we get down here to the cheats section, I tend to turn it on, and I also then turn the always day on personally, because again, we're not here for gameplay, we're here for programming, and when it goes to nighttime, it gets very difficult to see, of course, so I tend to turn those on. But you don't have to, it's just going to make it easier for our main purpose, which I think is about the 5th time I've said it, our programming. Once you are ready, you can simply come over here and press play. It's going to take a few moments, depending on your computer, to actually load everything up and bring you into your world. So we'll just let that happen. Now, while this is loading, it's a good idea to close as many other things as you can on your computer, because of course Minecraft does take up quite a few resources. So you might want to think about removing or closing as many applications as possible. Right, we are in the world. It looks like I've actually spawned underwater, which is maybe not the greatest thing in the world. So I'm going to just make my way up to some land, and then we will go from there. Yep, I seem to have spawned in a little bit of a strange spot. Anyway, here we are in Minecraft. We have a look on the left-hand side of my screen at the moment. We have our basic keys, and that list can be brought up at any time by pressing H. And again, by pressing H again, we can hide that list. So if you need to check what the main key functions are, you can always bring that up. Now, what we are focused on at the moment is the C key, which is going to open our code builder. So while I'm going to hide that menu quickly, I'm now going to press the letter C on my keyboard to start building my code. Now, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to be asked which editor you'd like to use. Now, this might take a few moments to actually show up originally, but I need you to use the first one, which is the Microsoft Make Code editor. So you need to click on that to start loading the Make Code editor. Now, again, it might take a little while to load the first time. Usually once you've done it once or twice, it does come up much more quickly like mine has, but it could take a small amount of time. When you do open up, you need to start a new project in this case, so we'll do that. And just like we have done previously when we've used Make Code in Year 7 for microbits and things like that, we need to give our project a name. Now in this video, we're going to be trying to understand and make a chat bot. So I'm going to use the same process we do in class, which is your last name, then your first name, and then the piece of work you're doing. So for me, it would be Tomic, Nathan, and then the piece of work is chatbot. Okay, and we're going to just look at the options here as well. We are using Python, so you must make sure that the options you choose are either the first one that includes Python or the second one that's only Python. Nobody will be using JavaScript. So one of these two is okay. I'm going to go with the first one just to have all options available and press create. And this is what we're going to get. Now again, if it's the first time you're loading it, you might be asked to have a look at the little tour. You can choose to do that or not. I'm just going to press X to close it for now. And because I did choose the option with blocks available, I have started in the block view. So I want to be in Python, not JavaScript, Python. So I'm going to come up to the top and I'm going to change to Python. So the drop down arrow, choose Python. And you can see I've now got Python code where I can type instead of dragging blocks in. Right, we are now going to start our first program. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press escape on my computer for a second so that I can move my mouse onto another screen to grab some code that I'm going to bring in. So if I just grab that quickly, sorry. Okay, come back into the game and whoops, sorry about that. I'm just going to have to press my C key again to come back into coding, and I'm going to paste in here the code I grabbed from off screen. Here is our first chatbot, and this is the same as what you'll find on our class page if you go to lesson 2 of this topic. Let's go through what this is showing us. The first line here, which is green at the moment, starts with a hash symbol. Now the hash symbol represents a comment, so it basically tells the computer that everything after the hash is a comment. It's something that is only there for us to read to help us understand what our code should do. The computer itself does not run those commands. I'm just going to put a space here as well and enter, sorry. The second part that's happening is we are defining here a function. It's something that can be done, later on. So that starts with the keyword def, D-E-F, which is in blue, and that stands for define. And the next part is the name of the function, which in this case is a bit of a strange name. It's on chat. Now what's very important to know about names is you can't have spaces in them. So I couldn't, for example, have a space there and a space there. You'll see it's got squiggly lines because it's getting all confused, a bit like in Word when it says this doesn't make sense. So what we tend to do in programming is use the underscore character where we might like to have a space instead so that we can still have function names that make some sense. So when we have to find a function called onChat, we press enter and it's going to come down to the next line here, which is tabbed in one tab space, and tabs are very important. And this line here is going to make the player say, so these are built-in commands of the player, knows how to say something, and what it says is the text inside these quotation marks. So basically when we say go and do onChat, that's the function name, it says, yep, I know how to do that. It's defined here. And what I do at that stage is I say player, you need to say, and the text inside the brackets, which in this case is hello to you too. Right, so hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. How does that actually happen though? Well, that's what this third line here, line 6 at the moment on my screen. It's now not part of this definition. It is just code that is running, right? Because it's not inside another definition. And what it is doing is essentially listening for commands. It is the player listening on the chat. So when we go into the chat area and we type something in chat, it's listening for a command, and that command is what we have inside these quotation marks. So our command is the word hello. Now, commands in chat can only be a single word. So again, if you want a longer sounding command, you need to do something like use the underscores, like I said earlier. If you include spaces in your command, then it's going to get very confused and not work properly. After the comma, so after the command, we then have the name of the function that we want to run when we see that command hello. So in this case, when we get a command hello, we want to run our on chat that we saw up above. So we've defined the function, and then this line is basically looking and waiting for the command to go and run the function up there. So they kind of work together. Here is a function to do something, and this is how it gets triggered in this case. So let's have a look at that working. So if I come down to the bottom right and I press play, I end up back in my game. And if I now go into the chat, which is the letter T on our keyboard, and I come down here into my chat window, and I type the command hello and press return or enter on my keyboard, up here, up the top left there, you can see that my player, Ntomic, that's me, so I'm the player, has responded hello to you too. Exactly what we expected our code to do. One thing I hope you notice is while the command that we did in our program had a capital H, it actually doesn't matter the case sensitivity when you're typing it in the chat. It will work with either version. However, if I go back into the code, these sort of things like player.onChat, these are very much case sensitive. If I tried to change, for example, that P there to a capital P, it's going to go, don't know what that means. I don't know what a player with a capital P is. So we have to be very, very careful. Most things are case sensitive. Most things are space sensitive. Most things are tab sensitive. So we have to be very careful about that. And most of the time, especially early on, while students are learning Python, most of our errors come from either simple typing mistakes of the names of commands or the way we have tabbed or spaced out our code. So we have to really focus on that. Rightio. Let's try and add or make some improvements to this code. So the first thing I want to improve is that name, on chat. It's a silly name. So I'm going to change the name of the command to be say_hello. Now it's gone red because it goes, hey, there is no defined function called say hello. So let's go back to what it used to be up here and also change the name there. So now that I've changed the name in both places, it will still work. So let's try that again. So if I come into my game, I go to the chat, I still type the command hello in. It has worked as I expected. It has again said hello to you too. Right, back to code with the letter C. Now that we've got one that works, let's add another command that's going to say something else. Now, of course, you could sit here and type this in, but let's be smart about what we're doing and let's copy and paste. So I'm going to copy and paste both of those, and underneath just put a couple lines, paste it in there. Now immediately the computer's going to get a bit freaked out because it's saying, hey, you've got two functions called say hello, can't do that. So let's start by changing this command. So I want this to be say goodbye. So let's change that. So now I've got a function that is called say goodbye. It's been defined with that name. What I want the player to say at that case is, we'll say, see you later. See you later. All right. Now I've still got some red squiggly lines because I've got two commands of hello, both trying to run the function say hello, and we don't want that. So let's change the command that we're going to type in to be goodbye. Okay. And we want this command to run our say goodbye. So we want to change this part of the program so it points to the right function. And hopefully all our red lines go away. So now what we have is these three lines that are working for the hello, and these three lines which are working for our goodbye. Because they're both in our program, both commands should work. So let's go back into our game and try it again. T for chat. Let's keep making sure our hello works properly. Yep, it came up there, no problems. And in our chat, if we now say goodbye, there we go, see you later. And that's exactly what we wanted to happen. Now in my class, what I will have asked you to do, or what I'll be asking you to do if this is, if you're listening to or watching this before we've had class, I'm going to ask you to go and add more commands to our chatbot. So we have done 2 so far, a hello and a goodbye, and I expect both of those to still be there. But I'm going to ask for at least 5 more commands. 5 more things that you can type a single word command into the chat, and your player essentially is going to respond with some sentence back. So, for example, you might want an age. So you might want to find out how old your player is. All right. I'm going to do one more with you just to show that. So I'm again going to try and be smart about what I'm doing and just copy and paste the structure, if you like, of what I know works. I'm going to paste it down there. I'm going to change the function name to be, say, age. What I want the player to say when it happens is, let's say, that is none of your... Oh, I can't spell business, but you do this. I probably spelled that wrong, but we'll see. So that is none of your business. What's the command that I'm going to type in? Well, let's just make that age. And I want it to run this function that we've called say age. So let's fix this up so that when I type the command age in, it will run the function say age. So there we go. It's looking good. And let's just try it out. T, if I type in the command age, there you go. That is none of your business. So we have added another command to our chatbot. Let's go back to the code. So now I've actually got 3. You can be a little sneaky and keep the age one if you like, but you can certainly add at least 4 more then. So a total of 7 all up. Obviously, I shouldn't have to say it, but I will make sure that what you have in here is appropriate. Both the command words and anything that it says back must be appropriate. I don't want to see language that we wouldn't use in classrooms on there. And I also want you to think a little bit about the content itself. So, for example, I wouldn't want one that maybe says where you live, for example. That wouldn't be appropriate for someone else to see. So let's pretend you did decide to make a command for live or location, a bit like I just did with the age. Certainly don't have it respond with something real. So if you did say location or something like that as your command, maybe your player says, hey, I'm not going to tell you that. And I've just kind of given you another one you might want to try making. But there you go. That's the process. Once you have completed this, what I'm going to ask for you to do at this point is to just simply copy and paste all of your code into a Word document to save it as well. When you exit out of this, your code will be saved as okay, but at this point, and certainly at the time I'm making this video, we haven't decided exactly how you're going to submit this work. So just to be safe, copy and paste the text of your code, that's the part I'm really focused on, into a Word document, save it on your system, and at least if I ask for your code in the future, you'll be able to give me that Word document. For that Word document, of course, make sure you name it properly, your last name, your first name, and chatbot would be the best name for that task. As always, if you're having any trouble or you need some help, please reach out. But otherwise, this should be something reasonably straightforward for you to do. Oh, one last thing if you've gotten this far. If you want to try and push yourself, see if you can do a little research and find out a way to have your chatbot not only respond with just a pre-made something, but maybe include a value that you give. So, for example, if I said age and 14, it might be able to use that 14 in part of its response. That is something that we will look at in the future, but it's a bit of a challenge out there for any of you who maybe find that this is okay, you've got a bit of experience already or are finding this easy. See if you can solve it. It is certainly not required at this point, but a challenge there nonetheless. Thanks as always, and I will see you in class.